Students, welcome for the next lecture of Biomolecules. And in previous lecture, we have studied the first two type of biomolecules, that is carbohydrates and proteins. The third type of biomolecule today we are going to learn is lipid. Okay. So let me tell you about lipid. Lipid is actually a fat. Whatever the fat present in the body of human being and various animals is actually the lipid. The fat is made up of lipid. Lipid is very smallest part of the fat. Okay, and even the lipid is made up of the different components. As carbohydrates is made up of CHO, carbon, hydrogen and oxygen, and in case of protein we have studied, it is also made up from carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, sulfur. Okay, sulfur and nitrogen is additional in the case of protein. Also in case of lipids, they are also made up of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. So the combination of CHO, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, leads to the formation of lipids, and when many lipids come together, then fat is produced in the body of animal. Yeah, so here I have shown you that carbon, hydrogen, oxygen is needed for the synthesis of lipids, and when many lipids come together they form the fatty acid chains, and then this fatty acid chains actually they join and unite with each other, and that leads to the formation of fat. Okay, it is present in the cell membrane, cytoplasm of the cell, stored cholesterol of the body. Okay, stored cholesterol of the body is whatever the cholesterol is stored in the stomach region below the skin of the animal is all actually cholesterol, and also we can call it as a stored fat. Why fat is stored in the body? First reason is it acts as a storage of food. Second, it acts as a insulator. Insulator means what? Whenever there is a winter season or the animal which live in the polar regions, means where there is a always cold temperature and it goes in minus 0 degree Celsius. So in that region, what animal have to bear the very cold temperature. So layer of fat below the skin protects from the cold temperature, and the body temperature is maintained inside, it is not lost outside the body. So the cholesterol is stored in the body, it is present below the skin, and also it is present in association with the muscles also, and in the stomach as a storage of food. Okay, so also fats are present in the cell membrane. Okay, lipids are present in the cell membrane. So lipids, they bound with each other, they form a double layer, and it helps in the synthesis of cell membrane of the cell, which act as a covering and giving shape and size to the. Also, in unicellular organisms, the organisms which are single cell organism, in the cytoplasm of that organism, what I'm saying, cytoplasm of single cell organism also have the fat granules as a stored food material. Fat granules, small particles are present in the cytoplasm, and they act as a storage food for single cell organisms. Okay, next, sources of fat. Fat is necessary, in our body in certain limit. Fat is very important in our body. Okay, so from which food sources we can get the fat? So sources of fat are butter, almond, cheese, egg yolk, meat, soybean are the best sources for fats. If you consume these food products, you will get the good amount of fats. Okay, so what are the sources of fat? Butter, almond, cheese, egg yolk, meat, soybean. Okay, egg yolk means the yellow portion of the egg is egg yolk. Almonds are also good source of omega fatty acids. Yes. So when we consume means what? When we eat the food and sources of fat like butter, almond, cheese, egg yolk, meat, soybean. When we eat these fat products, then the enzyme which digests the such kind of food. Okay, food is digested by digestive enzymes in our body. Our digestive system have different type of enzymes which save actually digest the food. So for digestion of proteins there are different enzymes. For digestion of carbohydrates there are different enzymes. And for the digestion of fat, which enzyme is present in the human beings is lipase enzyme. Please remember the name of the enzyme. Lipase enzyme can digest the fat in the human being. So let me repeat. Lipase enzyme in human being digests the fatty food products that we eat. Fats at 20 degrees Celsius, they are in solid state. At 20 degrees Celsius, the fat is mostly in solid state. Okay, but if the fat is liquid at 20 degrees Celsius, what I'm saying, if fat is liquid at 20 degrees Celsius, then they are called as oils. Okay, if fat is solid at 20 degrees Celsius, it is the general fat. But if that fat is liquid at 20 degrees Celsius, then they are called as oils. So we know vegetable oil is always liquid. It never becomes solid in state. So they are oils. Next part, fatty acids are of two types. How many types? Fatty acids are of two types. First type is saturated fatty acid. Second type is unsaturated fatty acid. Okay, so saturated fatty acid means what and unsaturated fatty acid means what? Okay, first we'll explain saturated fatty acid. Saturated fatty acid is found in coconut oil and palm oil. The general palm oil is used for cooking food, and coconut oil is also used in many places and many countries for cooking food. Okay, so this oil, coconut oil and palm oil can become solid in cold temperature. That is called a saturated fatty acid. And unsaturated fatty acid is found in fish oil, fish cod liver oil, and vegetable oil that we generally use, sunflower oil, soya bean, okay, uh, rice bran seed, cottonseed vegetable oil. Is all this type of oil is always liquid in state, so they are unsaturated fatty acids. Okay. Now When fats are consumed or eaten more than a limit, okay, if overeating of fats, overconsumption of fats is done by any of the person, then it is not good for health. It should be in a proper limit. If it crosses the limit or if it is more than the limit, consumption of fats is uh, if it is more than the limit, then what happens? It causes the disease. It causes disease like arteriosclerosis. It's called as arteriosclerosis. What is arteriosclerosis? Means deposition of the fat particles inside the uh, space of blood capillaries and blood vessels. Okay, what is arteriosclerosis? When you eat more amount of fat, there is an extra fat, so that will deposit in the blood vessels, artery and vein. Okay, our blood circulatory system is made up of blood vessels. So from blood vessels, what is flowing? Our blood is circulating through the blood vessels. So when blood is circulating through the blood vessels, if it is carrying more amount of fats, that fat molecules deposit on the inside wall of the blood vessels and they deposit there. Okay, and they start accumulating there. Accumulating in the sense uh, they get deposited and they occupy the space of the blood vessel. Okay, if this is a blood vessel, then when blood is flowing through the blood vessel, there is a deposition of fat particles on the inside wall of the blood vessel, and the space inside the blood vessels become less and less as the fat is getting deposited, and the internal space of the blood vessel starts decreasing. Okay, and due to decrease in the inside space of blood vessel, what happens? Heart attack. It causes the, and also it causes the arteriosclerosis, means hardening of the blood vessels. Okay, so this kind of diseases can occur due to deposition of fat in the blood vessels. Function of lipid. Lipids provide twice energy than carbohydrates. Okay. Yes, in previous lectures we have studied that carbohydrates is a good source of energy, because when carbohydrates are digested, ATP is produced. What is ATP? ATP is an energy rich molecule. So when carbohydrates are digested, glucose is produced, and when glucose is broken down, then it is used for synthesis of ATP, adenosine triphosphate, which is an energy molecule, and that is used by the all body cells for proper functioning. So whatever the energy is given by the carbohydrate, double energy can be given by the fats. Okay, so whatever the energy given by the one molecule of carbohydrate, double energy than of that is given by the fats. Okay, so provide twice energy than the carbohydrate. Who? Lipid. Next, it is present under skin, which stops heat loss from the body. Under skin, inside the layer of skin, there is a deposition of fat layer, which stops the heat loss from the body, especially in the animals who live in cold temperatures. Okay, and next, it is important in cell membrane synthesis. For the synthesis of cell membrane of the cell, there is a need of lipid. Without lipid, cell membrane cannot be synthesized. And in some animals like polar bear and whale fish, they have very thick layer of fat just inside the skin. And why this thick layer of fat is present in such polar bear and whale fish? because it acts as a storage of food. Okay, food is stored in the fat in the form of thick layer of fat. And why it is stored? Because polar bear and whale fish, once they eat the food, they eat a lot and they store all the food in the thick layer of fat, because whenever the food is not available due to bad environmental conditions, this stored food material can save their life, even if they are not getting the food. So without eating food, they can remain alive due to storage of thick layer of fat, which act as a food. So here we complete the lipid as a biomolecule. So you will get the notes on the WhatsApp group, and side by side you have to prepare the notes from such content, and also the notes that I provide separately on the WhatsApp. So if you have any doubts, you can ask directly on